to the Goody Room, your one-stop shop for everything movies, TV, and more. We know you want the goodies. Welcome back to the Goody Room. I'm your host, Matt the Nachos. With me always is my man in the chair, Frankie Rock. What's up, Frank?
Not much. What's up with you, big guy?
It's been a while.
It's been on. Yeah, I know. We haven't done this since like last year.
You're such a dad.
I know. Happy New Year, by the way.
Larry David said it's too late for Happy New Year's.
What is the official cutoff according to Larry David? I forget.
If I recall correctly, I think it's like the first couple of days. I think like after like 2-3 days, I think you're done saying Happy New Year.
Yeah, it is a little late, but this is the first time we've really talked since last year. So I was keeping this one in the chamber for you.
Yeah, there's like hundreds of texts a day. They don't mean anything.
Nothing at all.
Anyways, today, we're gonna change it up. We're gonna do a little Goody Room lectures here. We're gonna talk about the current state of Marvel and DC. Should be a little interesting talk. I know Frank and I talk about it all the time, so kind of wanted to get it out there, let you know our thoughts and maybe what we would do to change it, and kind of bring it back. And then we're going to get into everyone's favorite segment, Children with Adult Money. But before we get started, I got to say, hail to the victors. Michigan Wolverines National Championship. You're welcome, Frank.
And there goes literally every single one of our Ohio fans, all four of them.
That's why, there's really no repercussions here.
That's right. Yeah. Honestly, we could tell them, everybody, like when we get into the lecture, we'll be like, Marvel is doing great at the movies and no one's going to care.
Hey, all I got to say is nobody's got it better than us.
Exactly.
All right. We'll get into the first one here. Goody Room lectures, talking the state of Marvel and DC. And, Frank, I'm going to kick it over to you because you've been almost boycotting any superhero movies or shows.
I really am, and it's so weird because like I look around my house and my room at work, I have posters up for MCU movies. I have so much memorabilia at home, and like I look at it and it's like I love this stuff, but I am just not into the movies right now because the last two I saw. The last 2 out of the 3 I saw in theaters were absolute duds. And the last 3 I saw were Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That was a dud. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse? What's the second one?
Across
the Spider-Verse, which was amazing. But then I followed that one up, unfortunately, with The Flash. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and The Flash were enough to make me just be like, I am done for a while.
When if people in Hollywood like are almost kind of laughing because all the kind of old heads of Hollywood have been hating on superhero movies for the last couple of decades now.
Right. And it's funny. A few years ago when Martin Scorsese came out and said that the Marvel and superhero movies aren't it's not cinema, it's more akin to like a roller coaster ride. I was like, in my head, like, oh, screw you, like you're just old, you don't know what you're talking about. But since like July, I have been just doing this deep dive of just watching like movies, dramas, thrillers, foreign films, things like that. I've been going out of my way just to like not watch whatever is in the mainstream. I've still been watching the mainstream stuff, but the majority is just like random stuff that's kind of at the bottom of streaming services. And now, however many months, almost going on a year later, I can't help it. It's like, yeah, I agree with that statement. They're more like roller coaster rides, and that's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing, but I would say they're not films, they're movies.
Right. And that's what movies are. Movies are entertainment. So,
Yes.
and there are two versions, right? There's films, which, in my opinion, you making like a film, you're doing that for the Oscars.
Right. There's certainly there's a certain degree of like I just had the word like your head's up your own butt, or oh gosh,
Yeah.
I just had the word. It's pretentious. There's a certain degree of pretentiousness to it. But yeah, you're making a film. You're definitely trying to get some sort of attention that's not the general audience. Like Top Gun 2 was a movie. They set out to make a movie, not a film.
Yeah, exactly. But, I'm with you. Like, and I've even been hesitant to watch a lot of the new stuff coming out. Like, I didn't go see the new Captain Marvel,
Right.
what is it, the Marvels? Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't even go see the new Aquaman.
No, and it's funny because I think you and I both agreed when the original Aquaman came out 5-6 years ago. That was such a surprise. Like that was just it almost became like a guilty pleasure, like Aquaman. And that was a movie for a while. Like I'd be cleaning the house, I'd have it on in the background. Like it was just kind of like my go-to movie. And now that the second one's coming out, like I should have been there day one, IMAX, 3D, all the goodies, the popcorn bucket, all that. But I'm just in such a like a maybe it's oversaturation. I just couldn't bring myself to even watch any of the trailers.
And I think what it is for me is, I, let's be honest, the characters are B-list characters. A lot of the stuff coming out now,
Right.
they're not the popular people, but I don't feel emotional connection to these new heroes, right? The storytelling, I think, has really taken a dip. Especially with Marvel, really.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the biggest issue with that is, when we were introduced to Thor and Captain America, we had the origin movie. And I get that they're like, we can only do so many origin movies, but at the same time, we watch those characters grow over like 6, 7 films.
Yeah,
Whereas I'm going to use Shang-Chi as an example. Like we meet Shang-Chi and he's already at his most powerful, and it's just like, it would have been cool to see the movie where he was a kid being trained as the assassin by his dad and then like ended it with what the first movie would have been. Kind of like the same with the Eternals. Like, why couldn't have we gotten a full movie of them in the past and then work their way to the ending? Like, I always think, I don't know the actor's name, but Rob Stark, spoiler alert, ends up being the villain in that movie. If that was movie 3 and that twist came along, that would have been a gut punch.
and the other thing too, going back to those original movies, though, is you had an Avengers level threat,
Right.
basically, almost like from the start, right? That they would tease at the end of all these movies, and so it build up year after year after year, and then finally you got, like you got the first Avengers movie, right? And then they
Right.
started to grow on top of each other and create kind of this momentum. And like you said, like we grew up with these characters and kind of really connected with them. And it's kind of sticking with Marvel. Like, what would you say, what would be a suggestion that you think that they need to move, or direction they need to go in to kind of bring them back?
Uh oh boy. I have actually a few ideas. And I'm gonna start off with a hot take. I think it's time for Kevin Feige to hand over the reins. I think we need a new creative in charge. Not that his creativeness is bad. I think they just stretched him too thin, and he put out so much so quickly. Like he's just like, I I kind of feel like the ideas are tired, and it's just like, I guess we can do this versus like, it'd be really great. Like, do you remember when it was announced that we were getting Spider-Man in the MCU and how everybody was losing their mind? There isn't any of that anymore. And we need that type of energy back, because right now it's just like, in the Marvels, I honestly don't think, I haven't seen it. I can't talk about it, but like a lot of people were like, well, it failed because, it was all female cast. No, I don't think that's why it failed. When you got those three characters together, that should have been exciting. But when they marketed it, it was just kind of like, and here's the Marvels. Go see it, please. And I'm just like, why? Like, what should get me into the theater, you know?
Yeah, and I really do think it was a mistake, kind of trying to mix these TV shows with the movies. You should have just stuck
Right.
with one, right? Because that's also kind of the problem. Like if you didn't watch Miss Marvel on Disney, you don't know anything about one of the
Or
characters.
or WandaVision, because that's where the other Marvel came from. The other Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
Monica Rambeau, I think her name is. I'm not sure.
but like they really I think kind of messed up there, and we've kind of mentioned it before we had like a conversation, but really what they need is they need to bring back or they not bring back, but they need to reboot, which I know they're working on Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
We need another set of heroes that are kind of like what I would consider the A list of heroes.
Okay, so we've talked about Fantastic Four, and I think we've also talked about this. They also it's time, it's time, it's time. We need the X-Men back. And
Mhm.
and they need to stop with like this whole, hey, we're bringing back Hugh Jackman again and Patrick Stewart. We need a fresh set of actors. And not to say that I'm not excited to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I'll always be excited to see that. But it just like it's time for a fresh set of talent to bring probably something new to the characters that we haven't seen on screen yet.
Yeah, I think that's a solid idea too. And one of the reasons I bring up Fantastic Four is because I want Doctor Doom.
Who would you cast as Doctor Doom?
Dude, it's so tough. I've seen some things out there. I can't think of anybody's name right now, but who would you say?
I would um I would say John Hamm from Mad Men would make a great Doctor Doom, because he's like pretty, and Doctor Doom is super vain. So I think that would work. And also I feel like he has like a darkness that he could bring to it. And I know this is kind of like a popular cop out choice, but I think Cillian Murphy, who played Oppenheimer, I think he is never not a good villain. So I would cast him.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Yeah. I also have a few fan picks for the X-Men. I think Magneto should be either Denzel Washington or Daniel Craig. And for Charles Xavier, I would love to see the guy from the Grand Budapest Hotel, the guy from the Menu. What's Ray Fiennes? I think he would be phenomenal as Charles Xavier.
Yeah, like they need to get back to storytelling.
Right.
I think the writing and things are what made those movies great. The connections between the movies, the Easter eggs, all that stuff. And I just don't feel that anymore. I feel like it's just now there's like a commercial formula for it, right?
Mhm.
And they just kind of pump it out and pump it out.
Do you think also with the storytelling, and I agree 100%, they just got to a point where like the audience is expecting 3 or 4 of these a year, and it's just like, you're bound to run out of fuel eventually. But, I think also like what they need to do for a while is not every movie needs to be this insane big adventure. Like we could have a whole movie about the X-Men just coming together and not even fight anybody, and it would still be a compelling story.
Yeah, and there are some things too that I think are better presented as a television show than as a movie, right?
Exactly.
And they don't need to be the same multiverse universe and crossover, from the big screen to the streaming service. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary.
No, and if to prove your point, when they did the last Spider-Man movie, when they brought back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, like that movie made almost $2 billion, or maybe it did make $2 billion. I'm not sure, but it goes to show like the audience can roll with multiple universes, and you don't need to really explain it or go into detail. It's just like, look who's back, and it's like, great, let's go. you know.
Eminem's back again.
Yes, Shady's back. Go tell a friend.
You just did.
Oh, well, look at that. Well, yeah. Yeah, and I just don't know. Maybe they've told all the great Marvel stories to make, like, who knows? Maybe the Infinity Saga was it, and now it's just kind of like, and here's just kind of some other things, but who knows?
That's true, because if with kind of not superhero, but it is within Disney's umbrella. But if you think about Star Wars, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
they are doing a lot better with just kind of the you know uh, content that they're putting out on Disney Plus with the television shows about some of these characters, and like we've talked about it too. Some of these characters you would have never thought you could make an amazing show about. Like in Andor is like the one that comes to mind, right? Like of
yeah.
course,
I remember before that premiered, I said they literally picked the worst character from Rogue One and gave that person a show, and it was like Oscar-winning material. Like that, like what do you think the television show equivalent to a film is? Because that's what Andor is.
right. But the Marvel thing that I did watch the new season of, kind of a little streamer botch, kind of thrown in here,
Oh
but
yeah, why not? We're here, might as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
the new season of What If. And I personally like that series because I like these alternate universe reality stories about, like, well, what if, Peggy Carter got the serum instead of Steve Rogers, like it's entertaining to me. I really enjoyed this last season.
I like how I watched the first season, absolutely loved the first season. And I liked it for the same reason Matt did. I just like these, like, hey, quick little stories of what if this happened instead of that. So out of season 2, Matt, what do you think was the best, story? Like, what episode do you think is your favorite? And also what episode do you think I would be interested in?
You're putting me on the spot, honestly. But the one I it was the first one. I was like, oh, this is really kind of setting the tone. But Nebula becomes part of the like the police force for Xandar,
Oh, the Nova Corp.
the Nova Corps, yeah. And
And how I
what
know that right off the top of my head makes me sad a little bit, but anyway.
yeah, the Nova Corps, and Ronan is going to attack, and Nova Prime decides to turn on like this shield that, like, once it's kind of closed, it can't like be reopened unless you go into like this core like system where the code and everything is kind of like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
And spoiler, Matt also doesn't know what Dead Reckoning is either. He's watched it and we still have no idea. So if you have an idea, please message us and let us know.
So anyways, people are starting to go a little, kind of stir crazy because they can't leave the planet. They're stuck in the planet. Nothing can go in or out. And so it's become really like a crime-ridden planet where, there are murders, there's thefts, and Yondu actually dies, and Nebula is tasked with solving Yondu's murder
Oh,
and why he was murdered.
dang. That's like a film noir type of story in a way. Like you kind of answered both questions with one answer. So look at that. That actually sounds really good to me.
Yeah, and it's the first episode, and I was like, it really pulled me in, and I will say, towards the end, I did kind of start to lose a little bit of traction with the
Sure.
stories. Um, but I want to kind of move over though to DC because I don't want to. We've been talking a lot about Marvel, and I don't want to, forget about DC. Not that I don't know if DC can be saved. It might be time to just call it quits.
So the thing about DC is I remember as early as like 2016, 2017, when we were still back when we were Why You're Wrong and just on Facebook, we were going to do like a whole big thing about uh and we were going to base it off of the Death in the Family storyline from Batman, only call it Death in the Franchise. And I remember you made like this mock-up photo, and it was, you put like, because there's a famous photo from DC Comics where Batman is holding the dead body of Robin after Joker killed him. And Matt put Christopher Nolan's face on Batman and put Ben Affleck's face on Robin. And it was right at the time where like Batman v Superman came out, and it just didn't make the money that they were hoping in, and it just critically wasn't the film we all wanted it to be. And that's when Matt and I knew him almost immediately. Like there were signs of like, like right away. So I feel like this has why I bring this all up. I feel like this conversation is a long time coming.
It is a long time coming, and it's funny you bring that up because when Ben Affleck said, tell me, do you bleed? He was really talking about Warner Brothers bank account because it's bleeding.
So just to keep, play catch up as briefly as humanly possible. 11 years ago now, there was a movie called Man of Steel that launched, and this is right after Christopher Nolan finished the Dark Knight trilogy, and the original Avengers had just come out and made like all the money. So Warner Brothers is like, we were going to do a standalone Superman trilogy, but how about instead of that, we make our own shared universe? And they handed essentially the keys to the kingdom to Zack Snyder. And he said, well, I had an idea of what I wanted to do with the sequel of Man of Steel. It didn't have anything to do with any other hero other than Superman. And Warner Brothers like, no. We need to introduce as many characters as possible in this next movie. That way we can have our Avengers movie, the Justice League. And then they immediately introduced like, I think it was like 10 or 15 films. 2 were going to come out a year, which we maybe got like 5 of those movies all said and done.
Well, they did the reverse. They gave Justice League, and then they started to do the single movies.
Right.
And for like you brought up the Flash. Like, how long we've been waiting for the Flash to come out?
The Flash was one of the first movies that was announced in that slate, and it was supposed to, I think, come out relatively after Batman versus Superman. Like, it was supposed to be one of the first films in their franchise, and it just only came out last June.
And we've probably brought it up before, but like if you want to see just what a mess DC is, like, and just how wrong they were probably to chase out Zack Snyder, go watch Justice League, the theatrical version, and then immediately put on the theatrical version. Or I'm not the theatrical, the director's cut.
Right.
And see the differences between the two.
I just remember when it was announced that we were finally going to get, and the director's cut is called the Snyder Cut. And this was one of those things that was rumored for years because, again, a quick story. Batman versus Superman had come out, and all the critics were saying how dark and how this and how that it was, and how it wasn't any fun, which some of that, it's true. And they literally were starting that movie come out, and then like 2 weeks later, they were literally starting to film Justice League. And the writing was kind of on the wall at that point, like the Snyderverse, and DC was getting cold feet with his vision. A lot of news story. Unfortunately, his daughter had committed suicide right around that time, and I believe the studio used that as a way to quietly fire him and just say you're taking time to grieve for your family. And they brought in Joss Whedon, to finish shooting, and it became the theatrical cut of Justice League. And if you haven't seen it, it's terrible. It's awful. It's garbage.
So bad. But I think what us fans want, and I think what would help them is I personally wouldn't even try to make this whole universe with DC. I would just get back to single movies, create their own trilogies, right? And I would start with Green Lantern, and I would do it right.
And I think we agreed if we were going to do, if you and I were handed, the director's chair of Green Lantern, we wouldn't do Hal Jordan. We would do Jon Stewart's Green Lantern.
Absolutely. 100%. You got to do, I think Jon Stewart's just a more fun Green Lantern. I think he's more like kind of cool action, right?
Oh, I'm for lack of a better phrase, Jon Stewart's Green Lantern, he has style. He's got style, man.
He does. That's a good way. Yeah, he's got style, right? But you got to do something like that. I think fans want to see, and I think fans would want to see that.
I think that would be a start. I really agree with and don't get me wrong, we're shared universes is just the way the studio system Hollywood's going now, and that's just what we're gonna get. But I do agree. I think DC characters would work best their own universe. It's like we're not trying to connect. Wonder Woman she's the only hero. Batman's the only hero in his universe. Like, do a trilogy. Like, and that's one of the things about the DC characters. They just have this rich, rich, rich mythology, kind of like Marvel's. But I always saw DC characters more as gods than superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the reason why I personally think they need to get back to just the singles and stop this multiverse stuff is like look at the success of Batman over the years, right?
Right.
And the newest one, the Batman. Sorry, it's a trigger. It's a trigger, I know, but now how awesome is that, right? And I would hate for it to be diminished or kind of like almost tarnished anyway because now you're trying to write in or build in this multiverse.
Right. And I think too with the Batman, why the Batman works so well is kind of going back to what I was saying about Marvel is in the Batman, it's a very like singular story, and it's not like an Avengers level threat. The world's not going to end. Gotham, I mean, it kind of gets a little destroyed, but they'll be fine. And it's a smaller story, and it's very personal too. And I just think that that's what Marvel needs to get back to. I also think that's why the Batman worked as well as it did. Not only that, like the world finally sees Robert Pattinson for what he is, which is a very talented actor.
Yeah,
You and I have been saying that since college. Like this boy can act.
yeah. You have to put aside sparkles.
Yep.
You
Hey,
know,
got to make a name for yourself somehow.
yeah, but I've always thought he was a great actor,
Yep.
right? And but yeah, what would you? Any other suggestions for DC? What would you do?
Ooh. Okay. I agree with the Green Lantern John Stewart movie. Like, let's kick this off with a bang. Like, let's just go for it. And I would do it as an intergalactic like crime film. Like he's going to planet, maybe solving a mystery, maybe hunting down like this space murderer or something. Let's make it Sinestro. Why not? Like, let's just do it
It
up.
has to be Sinestro.
Has to be.
It has to be.
And you know what? Maybe we'll make it like, okay, so Sinestro is, and this is copied by Goody Room Productions. You can't steal this idea. You can't copy it.
Even though we don't actually own any of
right. It's copyrighted. That means you can't copy it. Let's say like Sinestro is building up the yellow lanterns, and they're just like this gang, and they're just going planet to planet, just destroying, right? So John Stewart is like one of the few Green Lanterns that are left, and he's like, all right, I gotta get a band of like, I gotta get like a Suicide Squad or my Magnificent Seven together of Green Lanterns. And he's going around like, we gotta stop this. This has become a problem. That's the John Stewart Green Lantern movie. Just have him be like Shaft almost. You know what I mean?
what the absolute wrong direction to go is put out a movie Blue Beetle.
Yes. Oh my god. Did you watch Blue Beetle?
I can't bring myself to hit play.
So I don't, it just like people are like, I actually was told by someone that the reason why I really didn't want to watch Blue Beetle was because that I didn't care for, the ethnicity of the character. And I said, no, that's not true. Not true at all. I don't care to watch Blue Beetle because I know nothing about Blue Beetle, and I just really don't care to watch a Blue Beetle movie. I just don't.
Listen. I really like that kid.
He's Cobra Kai. I love that kid.
Cobra Kai, baby. Cobra Kai, right? Sweep the leg.
Strike first. Strikes first.
The Force.
The Force.
By the way, guys, the Force joke is a joke between Frank and I that we've been doing for years now. So if you ever saw the new Star Wars movies, what is it? It's the third one, right? The Rise of Skywalker or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of the new. It's like one of the only like decent parts about that new one where
it's the one where they had to bring what's his face back.
Han Solo.
No, who's the director I'm thinking of?
Oh, J.J. Abrams. Yeah.
Abrams, right? They brought him back, and so Rey, the character, he's the main character, and Kylo Ren, they have these scenes where the Force keeps bringing them together, and that's like the comment that Kylo makes. He goes, "Why is the Force bringing us together?" So every time Frank and I say the same thing, even in text, like he'll text something, but you could tell that I had texted it too, and hit sent, and they pop up at the same time, and we'll just go the
The
Force.
Force. And they saw the Force in action when we both just said strike first. Um, okay, so let me think. I feel like I have another one in the chamber as far as what I'd want to do. I would follow Green Lantern up with, and again, this isn't connected. I would do what's the name of the character? I would do a Flash movie, but I would do like a non-multiverse. Yeah, I would do it correctly. And I would have um I would have the main villain be the Reverse Flash, and the actor who would play Reverse Flash would be the actor from The Boys who plays Homelander. And I would make the Reverse Flash in this movie just the absolute worst being. Like he would just be like you. It would kind of be like Joffrey from Game of Thrones. You would hate this character. You would
That would
absolutely hate this character.
that would be perfect because I absolutely hate Homelander. I mean,
Right.
like, but
Yes.
and there's nothing you can do to stop him. But yeah, and actually going in that because what I was going to go is, I know we used to both actually watch The Flash, the TV
Oh,
show.
the
We kind
first
of got,
season was great.
but like you introduced me to Arrow as well too, and
Oh, we would definitely do an Arrow movie. Hands down. We would have Oliver Queen, man.
but not even movies. Like maybe DC, maybe where you need to live is you need to stick with the big characters on the big screen, and then
Right.
you do these side shows. Like HBO is going to be doing the Penguin. I'm actually really looking forward
Oh,
to
I
that.
can't wait for the You know what? That will probably be the thing that brings me back to watch superheroes is the Penguin show whenever it comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe that's where DC needs to live. Maybe they live in the TV show, where because that's the beauty. Like one of the reasons why you and I both always enjoy Spider-Man and Batman is that they just have such these dynamic universes with all these great characters and villains.
And the thing, so before we started recording tonight, Matt's like, "What have you been up to?" And it's wintertime, it's cold inside, so I've been building a puzzle, and it's like a Spider-Man puzzle, and it's all the '60s comics, and has like all these key moments from the history. And obviously the villain's there, Peter Parker's there, but it's like they have all these little details, like not only is Aunt May there, but like standing next to her is Aunt Anna, Mary Jane's aunt. Like all these like C level characters that are just so like that bring a present that are A level. And Batman has it too, where like even the characters that are not necessarily immediately involved in the action are great characters. Like one of the Batman characters that comes to mind from the old TV show, the animated series, is Detective Montoya, or Montoya is the female detective. Like she was always a good character.
But even in the comics, though, like Batman's been around for years, right? And
Yeah,
you
we're
look at
coming up
the
almost on 100 years for Batman.
Right, and you look at the movies. Each movie series you've gone in really has had its own kind of influence by
Yeah.
one of those series, right? And I think that's what makes some of those, and that's why I'm saying like maybe DC needs to stick with television seasons because you could always do a new villain, right? You can have those character kind of join ups, especially like with the villains.
Sure.
You could do different storylines from different comics.
I speaking of like, what I would do, I wouldn't do the Suicide Squad, because at this point I feel like Suicide Squad is, we've now seen a lot of it. I don't think there's anything more to do with Suicide Squad. I would do a movie though in the same vein of a Suicide Squad. I would do a Legion of Doom movie. Have all the villains team up and just like create some mayhem.
Solomon Grundy want pants too.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, go away. Okay.
I always thought about what it would be like to see that big dome like layer that they had pop out of a swamp on the big screen.
Like the thing that looks like Darth Vader's helmet, you know.
Yeah, or from Spaceballs, right? That's kind of
Right. Yes. Yeah, no, like I just feel like there's so much untapped potential. And so right now they're in the process of they've handed James Gunn, the franchise. He's now in charge of DC and he's going to be rebooting Superman. And they have the guy that they cast as Superman, David Cornersweet, something like that. He was in a show on Netflix called Hollywood, and I was watching it with my wife, and I remember this is a few years ago, and I said, man, I know like Henry Cavill's Superman right now, but like this guy could absolutely be Superman, and they cast him. But also they casted Marvelous Miss Maisel as Lois Lane, which I think is great. But here's the thing: we don't need to see his origin. We know how he got there. Also, can we see him fight like Metallo or Brainiac? Like, don't put Lex Luthor in it. No, I mean they're gonna put Lex Luthor in, but like, don't make him the main villain. Like, I'm so tired of seeing Lex Luthor. He's not a threat. He's just not a threat. I have feelings. You're laughing, but you agree with me. You absolutely agree with me.
I mean, it's overdone, right? We just talked about it. It's overdone, and when you reboot things, you have to do something. You have to, especially like anytime that they brought Batman back or Superman back or Spider-Man back, it's always been with a new villain that hasn't been done before, and you have to do that to bring new interest, to the film.
I remember though when like the Dark Knight was announced and people were like, they have already done the Joker. They need to. It's like, listen, you cannot have Batman without the Joker. Like that's just unavoidable. You cannot skip that. You can't gloss over it. He has to be there. Like
he wasn't in the first one. He was in the second one, right?
Exactly.
So you do the first one with someone different, and then maybe the second film or the third film, you bring back that classic villain, right?
I think it's smart to save them too. Like give them something to build up towards,
Yeah, like Spider-Man. Like, come on, William Dafoe coming back as the Green Goblin.
Listen, Willem Dafoe returned to that role with a vengeance. Almost as if in the back of his mind he goes, one day I'm going to get that phone call and I'm going to like nail it again.
Vengeance is a trigger word. All right. We don't talk about vengeance.
Dude, no, I think like the best, not that I didn't like the Willem Dafoe costume in the original movie, but I think the best decision they made when they brought him back was take the mask off and let us see how, like, because he can distort his face in so many like creepy ways. Like, it helps that he's just a creepy looking guy to begin with, but
Yeah. Any final statements, right, before we move on?
I feel like we could have a part 2 of this lecture because I have so many other thoughts, and the hardest part tonight was like I got to get just like these points in, but I could have gone off on each and every topic to make it its own episode. I really enjoyed talking about this tonight. That's my final thought.
Hey, part 2 coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, what we could do is the DC universe according to Matt and Frank, and we'll have it all lined up for you. You got a taste with Green Lantern and the Flash and the Legion of Doom.
We'll do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We'll give you the whole outline, right? And Disney or Warner Brothers, if you're listening, we are available for hire.
Yes, but hire us, please. That would be awesome. I don't know where I was going with that, but just remember, you cannot copyright our John Lantern, Green Lantern movie. That is ours.
Moving on, children with adult money. So I know Frank, he's excited to talk about this one. Frank, why don't you go ahead? I got it up on the screen for those of you on the YouTube. Go ahead, Frank.
So as Matt and I talked, I think we touched on this during like our collecting episode. We talked about how like from Black Friday till the couple days out to the new year, DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4K are always on sale. Like it's the time to buy. They're dirt cheap. And, I've recently discovered that, older movies, like anything made before like movies started getting shot on digital, look amazing on 4K, meaning if they were shot on film, like they just look awesome. So I decided that I wanted to revisit Jaws. And Matt has the 45th anniversary limited edition steelbook edition up. And I will tell you, when I went to order Jaws on 4K, that is not the edition that I ordered. I ordered the dirt cheap version that was like the 40th anniversary, which did not come with all those goodies that you see in front of you. However, someone at the Amazon factory made a mistake. And no, it's not that maybe you ordered it and you didn't know. No, I double checked. I did not order this edition. Yet that's the one they gave me. When I opened up in the mail, I was like, "Oh, this is really nice." And I open it up, and yes, it's steel, and it comes with a little booklet inside. And if you were, a kid growing up in the '90s, the Jurassic Park, Lost World, and Independence Day VHS had these covers that if you move them, the image moves. And I don't know if you can hear that, but there's some nostalgia for you. But man, I just was so pumped because like this, again, I didn't order this edition. And, this is what was sent. It was almost like a Christmas miracle. And I watched it. And Matt, I will tell you, it was kind of like that time that I bought the original Star Wars trilogy on Blu-ray. And I said, the picture quality is just like, it can't be beat. It's insane. Jaws on 4K, it was like watching it for the first time again. It just was so pretty and awesome. And there are so many special features. I watched like 3 or 4 hours the one day over Christmas break of special features. I made it through a quarter of what's on that disc.
So, first of all, it's probably a robot that's getting fired. All right, probably heading to the scrapyard because I think a lot of those facilities are run by robots. And number two, that's like the greatest Festivus miracle I've ever heard of, because
it really was a Festivus miracle. And maybe I'll look back, maybe it was the 23rd that it arrived, because it was right before Christmas. And I just was like, man. And there's another one of our friends that also likes to collect 4Ks, and I know that he's a Jaws fan. And I texted him, I was like, dude, you got to pick up Jaws on 4K, and hopefully, a happy accident like me, they will send you like the expensive version, which my version was on sale for like $12. The version that was sent is like a $35 disc. So like, yes, some robot is heading to the scrapyard.
Yeah, I don't think Amazon really cares. It's just a joke. But anyways,
they were probably like, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal."
Yeah, good for you, Frank. So
jealous.
We'll move on to mine, and I went ham over all the Michigan gear. Yes, I am just hailing to the victors right now. Got me a couple of Michigan championship gear. Right, I got it up on the screen, and it does look sick. Look at that! Look at that blue with those roses popping on the blue, and then that nice white long sleeve champ shirt with the Jordan Jumpman logo on it. Yeah, oh man, it's got to be getting the juices, the fire going.
If you haven't figured this out, Ohio fans, Matt hates you.
I am just a Michigan fan, and nobody has it better than us right now. So,
well, enjoy it while it lasts.
Hey, man, they don't happen all the time, right? You got to enjoy these things. For those of you in Ohio, I am a CJ Stroud fan. I'm really, he was on my fantasy team. He was leading my fantasy team for a long time. I'm a fan. And hey, guess what? We can get along, right? Who's CJ Stroud throw to? Nico Collins. You know where Nico Collins went to school? The Michigan University. Right? So they can get along. They can coincide, right? Put aside the fact that, we beat you. We're Big Ten champs. We're national champs. We're Rose Bowl champs. Just put that aside for now, right? It's just 1 year. It could be you next year. It probably won't be, but it could be.
Wow. Hey, so long as it's not Penn State, all right?
Right. And then it wouldn't be Children Without Adult Money without
God.
A Batman update. So we are on day 138. Frank, you want to give the update for the people?
He's still not here.
What's the new delivery time frame?
Oh God, I stopped looking like because Matt probably wasn't going to bring this up, but I actually called Sideshow where we bought this from, and I said, hey, with all these pushbacks and everything, it's been almost a year time, maybe free shipping. Like, you got to give us something on this one. And Matt joked at me. He said Frank went full Karen mode. Like, I don't think it was full Karen mode. I think it was a Karen move for sure. But I wasn't angry at them on the phone. Like, I was very polite, and they were as helpful as they could be. But ultimately, they basically gave me the finger and said, "Shut up. We have your money. We'll send it when we send it."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so what was it? It was definitely over Christmas. It was like shortly after that or right before it, right? We got an email saying that the order was delayed, which we already knew was going to happen.
Right.
The new delivery time frame they said was January, February, which I was like, there's no way January. I said maybe the end of February.
You and
That's
I think on the last episode we took like bets on when it was going to come. And I think we both said it was going at the earliest end of February. But I mean, they made us wait this long. Why not? Why not go March? That way, it's 2 years from like the day since we ordered him.
yeah.
I think that would be poetic.
And don't worry, people. They gave us another coupon that you absolutely can't use on anything.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, I brought up during the phone call. I said, why give me this coupon that one expires in like 2 days and I can only use on select items? And I did tell the lady, I was like, and let's face it, those items I can use it on, nobody wants that. Nobody wants those items. And exactly. Like, the lady started cracking up on the phone. So she knew.
Yeah, it's like you know what's going on here.
Right. Right.
But hopefully we're getting close, people. All right. You're tired of it. We're really tired of it. Frank, you even had someone else who immediately knew what you were talking about.
So I am in the process of building a display case to put all my collectibles in. I would say I'm rounding it up, like it's almost done. And I've been getting these clear acrylic sheets to make it look like glass. And I picked some up today, and the guy goes, because it's kind of pricey, so like it's not like a one stop shop. It's like I got to break it up a little bit. And the guy goes, I'm curious, what are you buying all this for? And I said, I'm making a display case. And I showed him just kind of like my work in progress. And he said, do you shop at Sideshow? And outside of talking with Matt or watching YouTube videos, I've never once heard someone bring up Sideshow collectibles. So I was like, oh, this guy's in the know. And I said, yeah, I'm kind of currently mad at him because they keep delaying. And before I could finish, the guy literally said, the Rob Pattinson Batman. And I said, oh my God. Like, I think, him and I think immediately became best friends.
And you told me this, and I just started cracking up because it's like everyone is feeling this pain who pre-ordered this figure. So,
right.
Any final comments, Frank?
No, I know, like I said this, a little bit earlier, but I really enjoyed tonight. I think this is a good start to the new year. I look forward to more episodes, and people that are listening, most of you have our numbers, so text us. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Like, give us some ideas. As you can see, like, we talked for like 20 minutes about a film franchise that we have no part in, and we already have a plan for it. Like, we can talk about anything. Just message us. Let us know what you want to hear. We'll talk about it. We'll try to if we can't. What do you think, man?
I welcome the comments, the feedback. Remember to follow, like, and subscribe. If you're old like Frank's dad and you can't do that, just watch on YouTube. It still counts.
It's funny because as we were recording this tonight, Dad, sorry, I'm just going to embarrass you a little bit. I got a text message from him, and it said something to the effect of, "How do I log in again to listen or watch the podcast?" So don't worry, Dad. When we're done, I will let you know. He'll probably like get to the Christmas episode and goes, "It's not Christmas anymore. I don't care about this one," and skip it.
It was Christmas when it released, so that just tells me you're behind, right?
He said he was a little behind. But you know what? He is my boss, Cody. Yeah, Cody. I'll bring you up, Cody. I'll give you a shout out on the podcast. They are like our faithful 3 fans. Oh, my buddy Joe Gates Yeah. Oh, I said your full name, but that's okay. You don't have social media. You're good. But we love you. Thank you for listening, guys. Let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yep. Hey, we'll catch you. Same streaming time, same streaming platform. Catch you in the next one, guys. Later.